In a digital world where data breaches and unauthorized access are far too common, protecting your personal and sensitive files as well as corporate data is no longer optional, but very essential. In this tutorial, I'll show you a simple but powerful way to encrypt your files using the Encrypting File System right inside the Microsoft Windows operating system without any extra software or any complex setup. So stay with me as I walk you through these simple steps to lock down your data like a pro. I'm going to take you to my File Explorer. Then we access volume E, where we have these two directories. We have one labeled as confidential, another labeled as CTVet. So inside the confidential directory, these are the contents. We have some images as well as PDF and also executable files. Now, when a file is encrypted on a Microsoft system, usually you are going to see a padlock beside the file telling you that it has been encrypted. So once we do not have these padlocks beside these files, it means they have not been encrypted. So you can just double click to open them. Now, encrypting with the EFS on a Microsoft system can be done by using the GUI method or by using the command line interface. I usually prefer the command line interface because it has certain parameters that you will not find in the GUI method. So we are going to use the command line interface for the encryption that we are going to do. So you may be wondering why it will be necessary to encrypt a document or encrypt a file. Now, whenever you have something which is very confidential or sensitive, but you still need to share it with somebody for reasons best known to yourself. Sometimes organizations have very confidential data, but they still have to share it with maybe employees or share it with third-party people or whatsoever for certain reasons. Now, because you do not want this confidential data to fall into wrong hands, it becomes necessary for you to encrypt it before you share it. So when you encrypt a file, Microsoft is going to create a certificate with a private key which is going to be associated with the file that has been encrypted. Together with the user who encrypted the file, Microsoft is going to bind the certificate and the private keys together with that user account who created the encryption, so that it becomes exclusive and unique only for that user to decrypt. So what it means is that when this user labeled as Tech with Kobo over here, who is the current user logged onto this system, creates an encryption or encrypts this confidential directory which is on this system, what it means is that it is only the Tech with Kobo account that can log onto this local system and have access to the files that have been encrypted. If another user is logged onto the system, so here on this machine, another user is labeled as Kofi, who is even signed in already. So if Kofi logs onto this system and does not have the encryption keys or the private keys and the certificate, Kofi cannot access the file that has been encrypted by Tech with Kobo. Likewise, every other account. Now, if the file is also shared by the Tech with Kobo account with another user who is going to use it on a different system, the Tech with Kobo has to share the private keys as well as the certificate with that user before the user can decrypt it. So this encryption, along with its private key, is associated or binded or tied together with the user who created that encryption. Okay, so without much ado, I'm going to open command prompt with administrative privileges and begin the encryption process. So I'm going to click run as administrator. It's very important to do that so that every command you run over here is going to be executed nicely for you. So I'm going to type cipher, which is the command to convert plain text documents into ciphertext document. So followed by /e, which is the parameter that is going to do the encryption, followed by s:. So this s:, simply means that encrypt every other file which is inside the directory that is going to be specified. So in this case, the directory is e:\confidential, e:\confidential, and then I bring another double quote to close it. So let me be sure of the name of the directory, which is confidential over here. So this is the path that I have specified, /confidential. So the reason why we have input the double quotes is to handle any names that have spaces. If the folder has spaces between the names, then you need to use double quotes to handle it. All right, so I'm going to hit the enter key, and it says encrypting the file in /. So these are the files over here, and here it says 7 files or directories within 2 directories have been encrypted. Okay, so after this, I'm going to come to the directory and access the files. As you can see that all of them have padlocks attached to them. Now, when I double click any of these ones, they are going to open for me to see the content. So this is an image. As you can see, it has been able to open. So in case you are wondering why the file has been encrypted, but it's still able to open. Now, when the user who created the encryption logs onto the system, in this case, Tech with Kobo is already logged on, and it is the account that created the encryption. Microsoft silently is going to automatically unlock or decrypt the file using the certificate as well as the private keys that were created for the encrypted folder. So the user who created the encryption does not have to manually go through the process of decrypting the file every time he logs onto the system. The operating system is going to do that automatically for that user. But when a user who is not the one who created the encryption logs onto the system, then he cannot just double click any of these files for them to open. He is going to be denied access to seeing the contents of that file. He has to decrypt the file first. And before he can go through the process of decrypting the file, he needs the certificate of that file which was encrypted before he can decrypt it. All right, so EFS is not used to encrypt an entire volume. It is used to encrypt files and directories. So when you want to encrypt an entire volume, you need to go for the BitLocker drive encryption. So this is something that you need to take note of. Now, after going through this encryption process, we need to create a backup for the certificate that has been created for the encrypted directory. It's very, very important, so that when you want to share or transmit the encrypted file, you add the certificate together with whoever that you want to share the encrypted file with. That is what the person is going to use to decrypt it. So Microsoft stores it in a certain area within the operating system. So I'm going to open run, and then we type in set mgr.msc. In my case, it's already entered. So I'm going to click OK. So inside the certificate manager console, I'm going to double click personal, and then under personal we see a certificate container underneath the personal one. So I double click it, and here we have Tech with Kobo. So it attaches the name of the user who was logged onto the system and created the encryption. It attaches the user of that person to the certificate. So this is actually your certificate. So when I double click this one, and then I come to details, this is the information of the certificate. So you can see that it says the issuer is Tech with Kobo. The subject, which is the name of the certificate as well, is Tech with Kobo. It gives you every necessary information about that encrypted document or the certificate of the encrypted document. So this is what we are going to create a backup for, so that when we want to share it, we share the backup with whoever that we want to share the encrypted file with, or just in case the user of this system loses the account but still have the file available, they can use the certificate to decrypt it. So when you want to do that, you right click the file, and then you go to all task, then you click export. So you click next from here. Here I'll check the box for select the radio button for yes, click next again, and then I check the box for password. So this is the password for the certificate that you are exporting. So because this is a security feature, you are encrypting the file, everything does not have to be left open. So you can see that even for the certificate, the system is asking you for a password. So when you share the certificate with any person that you want to have access to the encrypted file, that person will have to provide a password for the certificate as well, so that if per accident that certificate and the file fall into wrong hands, the person has to provide a password for the certificate as well. So I'm going to enter a very strong password, a password that includes characters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and what have you. So the encryption type, you go for AES256, which is stronger than the first one that was there. Then I click next over here, click browse, and then save it to a location which is not supposed to be on the system. That is the recommended approach, because this is more or less like a backup that you are creating for the certificate, just in case you lose your account or you lose the certificate on the system. You're going to use it to recover or decrypt the file. So it makes it imperative to save it to a different location, maybe a USB thumb drive, an external hard disk, or on the cloud, maybe OneDrive or Google Drive or something. All right, so here I have a USB drive attached to the system, so I'm going to select it and then type the name of the file. So I'm going to enter confidential for the name of the file. The extension is .pfx for certificates. So I'll click save, then I'll click next and click finish. So here it says the export was successful. I click OK, and then I close the certificate console. So when I come to my file explorer inside the USB, I have confidential certificates over here. So we are going to assume that Tech with Kobo account is going to share the certificate with another account on this system, which is the Kofi account resident on this system. So Kofi is going to log onto the system and try to access the confidential directory which has been encrypted together with its content, and we are going to see if that is going to work. Okay, so let me reboot this system for Kofi to log in. The reason why I'm rebooting is that Kofi was already signed in, so I want to sign him out so that he will sign in again before he tries to access the system. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to select Kofi over here at the sign-in screen and log him in. Now, when a user encrypts a file, it is exclusive for that user alone, unless he shares the certificate for decryption to another person. So Kofi is logging onto the system. We are going to see if he will be able to access the encrypted files and see the content within it without importing the certificate that has been shared with him. And then afterwards, we import the certificate and see what's going to happen with that one as well. So Kofi has successfully logged onto the system. So this system is named as HP ProBook. That is what the Kofi account and the Tech with Kobo accounts are both using. So I'm going to open the file explorer, and then Kofi will access new volume E, which contains the directory that has been encrypted. So this is the confidential directory encrypted by Tech with Kobo. So Kofi opens it and then double clicks any of these files. So this is an image that Kofi is trying to open from that directory, and it says it looks like you don't have permission to view this file. So Kofi is unable to see the content. He tries with the PDF to also see if he can have access to them. So it's also going to give a similar feedback for Kofi. It says access to the file was denied. He's going to try the last one for the executable files. It says Windows cannot specify the device path. So Kofi is unable to access any of these files that have been encrypted by Tech with Kobo, even though they are both on the same system. Now, in case you are wondering if Kofi is a standard account, because a standard account obviously will be limited with some of these things. So let's check if Kofi is a standard account. So we open command prompt and then we type net user Kofi. So we come here, local group memberships, and Kofi is part of the administrators group. So even though Kofi is an administrator account holder on the system, he is still unable to decrypt the files unless Tech with Kubo has shared those files with him or has shared the certificates with him for decryption. So we have a USB attached to the system and the USB contains the certificate. So we are assuming that Tech with Kubo has given the certificate for decryption to Kofi for him to use it to decrypt the file, which is on the USB thumb drive. So let's see how Kofi can do that. So Kofi is going to open the set certificate manager, which is setmgr.msc, to import the certificate. So he comes to this certificate management console and then he double clicks personal. So here you can see that there is no certificate for Kofi yet because Kofi has not encrypted any file on the system. Neither does he have any imported certificate. So he's going to right click and then go to all task and click import. So click next, click browse, and then you look for the imported certificate. So here I'm going to come to the right side here and then choose personal information exchange, which is the file extension for certificates. So I click here to select it and then I click open, click next, and then here Kofi has to enter the password that was used to protect the certificate, which means that the Tech with Kobo account or the Tech with Kobo who protected or encrypted the file has to share that password too for Kofi to be able to use it to unlock the certificate. So it tells you how secure this thing is. So you always have to be careful who you are sharing this confidential data that you have encrypted with, so that it doesn't fall into wrong hands. So if per chance it accidentally falls into wrong hands, the certificate itself is also protected by a very complex password. Okay, so I'm going to click OK, which is Kofi clicking OK or clicking next. Sorry, he clicks next again and then finish. So he says the import was successful. Now we have a certificate container underneath the personal container. So Kofi double clicks certificate and you see the Tech with Kobo certificate. So even though Kofi is the one logged on, the certificate still came with the name Tech with Kobo, which means that that name is binded together with the certificate. So now Kofi is going to go back to the data that was encrypted or the folder that was encrypted, which is inside the new volume E. So here he double clicks to open it. This time he double clicks any of the image and then you can see that the image has been successfully opened for Kofi to have access to the content. So likewise, every other file over here, when he double clicks these executable files, this time he's going to be given chance to continue. You can see the pop-up over here to continue with the installation. Now let's assume that these same files that have been encrypted are going to be shared with another system or taken to another system for decryption. So here I am using the HP ProBook, which is what Kofi as well as the Tech with Kobo are resident on. So the file which has been encrypted is going to be copied to the USB thumb drive and transferred to that system, and we are going to see if that as well also can be decrypted. So I'm going to sign out over here. I'm going to sign out and sign in back with the Tech with Kobo account and then transfer the file to the drive. Okay. So I go into the Explorer check with Kobo being the owner of this file. So I go back here, copy the folder, and then transfer it to the USB thumb drive. So this is more or less like the Tech with Kobo account sharing this encrypted document with another person who is supposed to use it on a different system. So we are going to test it also on a different system. Then we see if it's going to allow us open it without the certificate or whatever that is going to happen over there. So security comes in many layers. Now, the fact that it's only the user who created the encryption is the one that can decrypt the file does not mean that you have to leave things open, because somebody can decrypt your account, as in the user account, and then log onto the system. Microsoft will not know that this is a new person who is using somebody's account who created the encryption. So the system is automatically going to do the decryption for that account, because Microsoft knows that it is that user who encrypted the file. So it becomes important for you to use complex passwords to protect your account. And then also, when you are sharing the file that has been encrypted together with the certificate, it's important that if you are using the USB thumb drive to share the file, then you need to use BitLocker to go to protect that USB. All right, you protect the USB with BitLocker to go, so that if even you misplace that USB thumb drive, it will be difficult for the person to decrypt it, because BitLocker is in place protecting the drive. You also need to enforce access control on NTFS permissions, or by using NTFS permissions to restrict who can have access to that encrypted folder on the system. So I'm going to suspend this machine over here and then resume the HP Ultrabook. So HP Ultrabook is the new system that we are going to transfer the file to. Okay, so I'm going to resume it. Okay, so after restoring this VM state, we are going to connect the USB thumb drive to it. Then we see how it's going to work over there as well. So on this system, we have the lab account and the TWK account. So I'm going to log onto it over here. Okay. So I'm going to open the File Explorer also on this system. We check here to see if the drive was able to connect to the system. So we don't have it here at the moment. So I'm going to reconnect the drive. Okay, so connect your virtual machine HP Ultrabook. Then I click OK to attach it to this HP Ultrabook. So the drive has been transferred to this Ultrabook. So I'm going to double click to open it. And then this is the confidential directory that has been shared. So when I double click this one and try to access any of these files, let's see what happens. So it says it looks like you don't have permission to view this file, just like we did on the other machine with the Kofi account. So this time it has been transferred to a different system, and you can see that the encryption is in place. So he also has to go through the decryption process to decrypt the files. So let's do that. We open run and then we type in the set manager.msc to access the certificate manager. So here we double click personal. You can see that we do not have any certificate yet. So we're going to right click, go to all task, and then click import. So we click next, we click browse, and then we navigate to the USB thumb drive. We click over here to select personal information exchange. We double click confidential certificate. We click next, and then we supply the password. So this password is going to be shared by whoever did the encryption and created the certificate. So I click next over here, click next one more time, and then I click finish. So it says the import was successful. When we come into the certificate, we see tech with Kobo. So this is a different system altogether that we have performed the decryption, but we still see the tech with Kobo account name attached to it coming from a different system. It tells you how unique and how exclusive this certificate is for that encrypted system. So when I double click the USB here, this time open the confidential, and I double click any of the images over here, this time we expect the image to open as you are seeing. So when I double click any of these executable files too, they should give us access to the file to run or install them. Alright, so that is how you secure your files with strong encryption in Microsoft Windows. Very quick, easy, and effective. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more practical tech tips, and share with anyone who cares about keeping their digital life safe. Until next time, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.